Alright guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do yet another little out and about video. So I'm here in the northern part of Zagreb and we're going to check out this place behind me. So this is Pivnica I Pivovara Mlinarica. If I've pronounced that correctly, I apologise if not. But I found this place on Rate Beer. It seems to be quite highly rated and I've heard good things about their beer. So I'm quite curious to go in and see what this place has in store for us. So we'll do as we always do. We'll go in, we'll have a little look at the menu, try some of the beers and all of this sort of thing. So I hope that you guys enjoy this one. Cool to be filming here in central Zagreb once again. Catch you in a second. Alright guys, yeah, so let's just have a little walk up and see Pivnica I Pivovara Mlinarica. So from what I gather, Mlinarica is like a female worker who works in the mill. So we're in the northern part of Zagreb. There's lots of rivers that come down toward the city from here. So this particular area, district, whatever you want to say, was famous for having lots of mills basically. So yeah, it's like the female mill worker brewery, if you want to translate the name into English. But this place opened up as a bar back in maybe 2008, 2009. Then they started brewing beer in 2016. And yeah, they kind of turned it into a restaurant gradually. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I've been sitting here doing my beer tastings. We've still got one left, but yeah, this is a really nice place. As you can see, lots of bottles and things in here. They've got a wee back room and stuff here. Yeah, there are bars here. You can see all the beers on tap. We'll look at that in a wee second. And then yeah, through here you can see the kind of back room. So yeah, that's a little walkthrough of the restaurant, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, that's it. Cool. Alright guys, so I asked for a little tasting flight and this is what they brought me, so this should be pretty cool. Over here we have their kind of regular lager, then we've got an IPA, we've got the Vienna lager, we have a beer that is simply called sour, and then this one here is a sour IPA. So this is a nice little set actually. We'll maybe need to get something dark after this just to kind of balance it out, but I'm looking forward to trying these and seeing what they're all about. But a nice selection of styles here, I have to say. Let's get started. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Mlinarica in Zagreb. So the first beer we're going to have a little look at is a really nice place to start. So this one is just called Czech Style Lager. It comes in at 4.8% ABV and yeah, it looks pretty good. So when this beer poured, it had about a finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head to it. You can see that it's kind of faded away a little bit just to be a nice kind of thin foamy layer, but colour wise this beer has the typical kind of pale golden straw colour that you would expect in this style. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation, just one or two big bubbles at the bottom of the glass, a few little ones just kind of steadily going up toward the bottom of the head there. But yeah, if we're talking about Czech lagers, this beer is most likely to be a sort of Svetli. Remember, in the Czech Republic they have a few different lagers. The Svetli, which is the kind of blonde lager, the Lecak, which is the amber lager, then the Cherny, which is the kind of more mahogany one, and then you have the Tmavi, which is the kind of the black one, the sort of Schwarzbier type one. And the main difference for me between the German lagers and the Czech lagers is that they tend to be a little bit more kind of bready and yeasty and kind of creamy compared to the German ones, which are a little bit lighter and drier and things. But let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one. Yeah, that smells very, very nice, I have to say. Yeah, on the... Straight away with this one, you can smell that lovely soft kind of bread crusty character to it, some smooth white bread in there as well. It's definitely got a little bit of that kind of wetter, more creamy vibe that you would expect of a Czech lager compared to a German one. And it definitely comes across more, it definitely comes across as being more Svetli-like than it does kind of Pilsner-like, if that makes sense. It's definitely more of a kind of bready lager beer, this one. Yeah, a little bit of biscuit in there as well, McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of thing. Yeah, don't think there's anything else we need to say about the malty side of this beer. On the hoppy side of things then, at the back of the nose you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one. It's got a nice little bit of a bright floral aromatic note out of it. Then round at the front of the nose, you've got a bit of a lighter sort of zesty, grassy character coming out of this beer.
Yeah, this is nice on the green component. Fruity wise, it's pretty much what you'd expect. You've got a little bit of you have a little bit of kind of sultana coming out of it, you know, that dried white green grapey sort of thing. There's a little bit of an oily pear and maybe a wee touch of, you know, kind of fresh green apple, something like that. So yeah, I think this is pretty damn nice actually. It goes together very, very well. Yeah, so aroma wise it is pretty nice. As I always say, take a bit of time to go over the aroma of these beers. But let's get stuck into this one. So this one is called Czech Style Lager, 4.8% ABV, my first beer here at Pivovara Mlinarica. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, but let's get stuck into this one. Slandrit Skål, cheers, Ziveli. That's pretty damn solid, I have to say. It's really quite bready. As I say, it's got a little bit more graininess to it as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, this one is pretty solid, I have to say. So backbone of the beer, you've got that nice little bit of a kind of fresh bread crusty sort of thing, absolutely, and you get a bit more dryness out of that the further you go into the aftertaste with the beer. On top of that, you definitely get a little bit of a kind of fresh white bread, but there's a wee bit of a kind of wholemeal bready note again the further back on the palate you go. Yeah, definitely one of the more grainy sort of Schwettli type beers I've come across. In the middle of the palate, you've got a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. There's a wee bit of I think that's about as sweet as it gets, to be honest with you. This beer really does get a bit more kind of dry into the aftertaste actually. On the hoppy side of things, it's kind of what you'd expect. This one uses the Czech Sats, Žatec hop as they would call it there. So you get a nice little bit of earthiness. It's a bit more floral and spicy as you come further forward, and there's a good little bit of a kind of grassy zestiness to this one. So I really like how that goes together. It's a really nice kind of solid Czech lager. On the front third of your palate, you get a little bit of you get a nice little bit of, could we say, you know, sultana type notes out of it. Absolutely, just like I was saying, the fruity character is pretty much as I was picking up in the aroma. So a little bit of sultana, a little bit of an oily pear, and yeah, a wee bit of that kind of fresh green apple. So yeah, I think it goes together really quite nicely. So on the mouthfeel side of things then, on the mouthfeel side of things, for me, it's quite, yeah, for me, this one is actually toward the top end of light bodied. It feels a little bit fuller and a bit more oily. Carbonation does have a degree of crispness to it. There's a wee bit of oily slickness in there. IBU wise, this one feels as if it's about 25-ish IBUs. It does have a good wee bit of bitterness to it. Maltwise, like we said, is a bit grainier and dry, but then yeah, you've got that little bit of oily and dry fruity character coming out of it. Overall, a very, very nice beer, this one. I really like how this beer goes together. So yeah, this is the Czech Style Lager, 4.8% ABV. That's the end of tasting number one. Catch you guys in a second with something else.
Yeah guys, little quick look at the taps. Czech Style Lager, Black Widow, Vienna Lager, Bitter Kiss IPA, the American Pale Ale, and this is on show. So yeah, pretty cool tap list. Let's do it.
Alright guys, well, time for tasting number two then here at Mlinarica. So yeah, this beer that we're going to have a look at now is a style that I really enjoy, but not one that I get to review all that often. So it's been quite nice to come here to Croatia and also in Slovenia and try a few more of these. So yeah, this one is the Vienna Lager. It comes in at 5% ABV, and yeah, I have to say, colour-wise, this one's a little bit lighter than some of the Vienna Lagers I've come across before. It is more along the lines of like a Märzen or you know, a Lechak in terms of its colour. But yeah, when it poured, it had a solid finger of a frothy, I would say, a nice kind of cream-coloured head. Yeah, it's very nice, this one. As you can see, not too much in the way of visible carbonation. One or two big bubbles at the bottom of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. Overall, it looks really quite nice. You can see this beer once again, crystal clear, transparent. It looks great. Yeah, like I say, just a little bit lighter in terms of its colour than some of the other ones. This one comes across as more kind of, could we say, sort of, yeah, bronzy maybe, but these beers can be up to the, you know, they can quite often be like a really nice dark sort of coppery or mahogany colour even. So yeah, there's quite a range of colour you can get from different Vienna lagers. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on the type of malts that you use, the length of your wort oil, any adjuncts that you put in, and any barrel aging stuff that you do can affect the colour of the beer as well. But yeah, it looks pretty nice, I have to say. So let's have a wee look at the aroma of this one and see what we get. Yeah, straight away with this one, I'm going to say it comes across very, very smooth. Like I said in some of the other videos I've been filming, out and about videos down here in Croatia and Slovenia, what I found with this style when I tried the ones from Vienna, they were quite a bit more kind of grainy and bready and things compared to what I thought they were going to be. So that was quite interesting, but the ones that I've had so far here in the Balkans have been a little bit smoother, which has been really quite interesting. I get the impression from the aroma of this one, it's going to be something similar. Yeah. So nice little bit of kind of fresh bread crust to the beer, absolutely. You can smell that fresh kind of bread crust. On top of that, you've got a nice little bit of a kind of sweet German rye bread sort of thing. So again, I quite like how that goes together. You do get a little bit of a sort of crackery note out of this one, you know, Jacob's cream cracker. And then at the back of the nose, you start to get a little bit more, you do get a little bit of that more kind of grainy aroma that I was talking about coming out of this one. So I do like how that goes together in this particular beer. Yeah, in the middle of the nose, you get a bit of a sweet caramel, but there's a lot of McVitie's digestive biscuit for me, you know, that kind of sort of cookie-ish note. I'm not sure what would be a good descriptor for any Croatians watching, but yeah, it does have a little bit of that biscuity cookie type thing going on this one. But yeah, I think that describes the malty base quite nicely. A little bit of bread crust, some smooth brown bread in there, a wee bit of biscuit, and yeah, some crackery notes too. On the hoppy side of things, yeah, I think this is, just going by the aroma, I think this is Slovenian hops because it's got a lovely smoothness to its green component. So you certainly get a nice little bit of earthiness out of this one. It's very smooth. There's a bit of herbal character in there, nice little bit of floral character too. But again, all of this is very smooth. But I think this beer really leans toward a more kind of light, grassy sort of thing. So it's quite, it's really quite nice from that perspective too. On the fruity side of the beer, for me, yeah, quite a lot of oily pear coming out of this one. There's a wee tiny hint of like a slightly red fruity character, which is something you always want from a Vienna lager. You do want just a little hint of kind of red fruity note out of these beers. So yeah, this one does have quite a bit of sultana for sure, like that dry white green grapey sort of thing. A little touch of raisin as well. And so yeah, there's a wee bit of that going on in this one. But this smells very, very nice. Let's have a taste of it though and see how we go. So yeah, Vienna lager, 5% ABV, beer number 2 here at Mlinarica. Slanje, skål, cheers, Živeli. So yeah, that's really quite nice. Like I say, it's quite similar to the other Vienna lagers I've had down here in the fact that it's a bit smoother, it's not quite as grainy as the kind of as the Viennese brewed ones that I've had. So it's interesting that maybe that's a trend. You always notice this when you go to different countries and you try their beers. You always start to notice little trends. So maybe here, when it comes to these Vienna lagers, they like them a bit lighter and a bit smoother. So yeah, this is quite interesting. It certainly does have a wee bit of that Czech kind of Lechak type character to it. Lechak, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, Lechak. But yeah, really, really nice, this one. So yeah, flavour-wise, it's kind of what I'd expect. It's quite similar to the aroma. A little bit of bread crust, a little bit drier at the back of the palate, lovely big smooth kind of brown bready notes in there. In the middle of the palate, you do get a little touch of like a kind of honey caramel type thing, and as you move further out, it's got a little bit more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity character. There's a little touch of woodiness in the middle of the palate with this beer too, which I really quite like. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, I should point out as well that earthiness is quite smooth, but as you move further forward you get a little bit of herbal character and a wee bit of floral note on the kind of front corners of the palate, but around the front curve of the tongue it's definitely lighter and more grassy, but not too zesty. The green component's actually quite oily in this one. So on the front third of the palate you've got a really nice kind of oily, fruity character to it. The base of it is a bit more bready, but then, yeah, you've got a little bit of sultana in there at the back. As you come further forward, it's a little bit more peary, and then you get a wee touch of you do get a wee bit of red fruity character out of it. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer is really quite nice. I like the slight oiliness that this one has, and a slightly more malty lager. You do want that bit of oily character. So let's round off with the mouthfeel of this one. So yeah, top end of light body once again, smooth carbonation, a little bit oily. Yeah, everything you would want from this style of beer. IBU wise, I think it's kind of 15, 20 IBUs, just what you'd expect. Malt base, as we say, is nice and smooth, little touch sweet, and you've also got that kind of oily, fruity character to it as well. So yeah, this is quite nice actually. As I say, not quite as grainy, if you like, as some kind of bready and grainy as some of the Vienna brewed Viennese lagers that I've had. But yeah, this one is a very, very nice beer, and I'm noticing that the Balkan Vienna lagers are certainly smoother and a bit lighter, probably just because of the temperature, to be honest with you, because it's pretty warm down here. You can see the kind of the tan in my face, or the sunburn, whatever. You can see that. But yeah, certainly a nice Vienna lager, this one. Let's leave it at that. That's tasting number 2. We've got a few more to do. Catch you in a second.
Alright guys, so let's take a little look at the Mlinarica menu. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not going to try and pronounce these in Croatian because it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. But yeah, I'll let you see what kind of stuff they have here. So basically, the first page here is Croatian, but then over the page it's the same one in English. So I'll just use the English stuff for you. So yeah, you can see appetizers, prosciutto, homemade salami, sheep cheese. They've got some nice cream soup. I might try the beef soup with homemade noodles actually. I always like a bit of beef soup, that's always good. Yeah, winter food, dried ham, homemade blood sausages, homemade garlic sausages. That would sound very nice too. Remember with the prices as well, 7.5 kroons is €1. So yeah, about 7 kroons is, yeah, £1 is like 8 kroons, and then yeah, $1 is about 7. If that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of roughly, you can see kind of what your prices are. So for euros, just divide by 7.5, for sterling divide by 8, and for dollars divide by about 7. So yeah, gives you a nice idea. So yeah, we've got lots more Croatian here that I don't really understand, so we'll go to the English. So yeah, they've got some really nice things here on the grilled side of things. So cevapi, this is like, it's kind of like, if you think about how a burger looks, it's like a little kind of mini sausage, maybe about this size. It's kind of like that. It's almost like burger meat with a little bit of spice and things in it. So yeah, cevapcici, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But yeah, they've got a few different skewers and things in here. Beer skewers, burger patties, barbecue ribs, barbecue wings, pork rack, pork tenderloin, homemade roast sausages, chicken sabre. I'm not sure. Yeah, beefsteak tenderloin apparently. So yeah, you can get a regular kind of beefsteak here as well. Yeah, I have to say the menu is pretty nice actually. The guys are going to make me something special that they usually only serve on the weekend, because I asked them, you know, what was a typical Zagreb dish. So you'll see that in a little while. But yeah, here you can see they've got lots of different kind of schnitzels. I always love a cordon bleu, very, very nice. Breaded chicken fillets, chicken cordon bleu, some gnocchi, stuff like this. They do have a bit of fish too, don't eat fish at all. But then you can see the side dishes, which are pretty solid as well, you know, just a bit of baked beans. Quite interesting to see that here in the Balkans actually. But yeah, the thing is with the food, of course, remember Croatia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so you do have that kind of Austrian-German influence, but they also have their own kind of Balkan foods as well. So yeah, some different salads there, trimmings, bread, some dessert. Yeah, they like pancakes here in the Balkans too, which is pretty cool. So cakes, tarts, homemade strudel, baklava, things like this. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So yeah, they've got a few hot drinks, soft drinks. You know, you're talking what, a little bit, about €2.50 for the soft drinks and so on like this. And they've got lots of craft beer on tap. So we've been trying some of the lighter ones so far, but I think we're going to try something a little bit darker
so forth. And of course, you can take the beers away as well. I'll show you the prices for the takeaway beers and the fridge a little bit later on too. But yeah, really nice menu. Actually, they've got some foreign strong drinks too, you know, basically, yeah, spirits, I guess you could say, all of these kind of things. And then they have wine. I don't know how widely wine is produced in Croatia, but Slovenia certainly is a very nice wine country. But yeah, that's a little look at the menu here at Mlinarica. So yeah, let's leave it at that for just now. Alright guys, well, time for beer tasting number 3 then here at Mlinarica. So, for the next one, we are going to a beer that is a little bit bolder, I guess we could say. So this one is called Bitter Kiss. It comes in at 7.2% ABV, and from what I gather, this one is a West Coast IPA. So yeah, it certainly looks the part. When this beer poured, it had a solid finger of a kind of frothy, cream-coloured head, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. But it looks pretty nice. In terms of the West Coast IPA, this is definitely one of the more kind of light-coloured ones that you're going to come across. Again, remember the colour of your beer depends on the malt base that you use primarily, but also the wort boil, length of the wort boil and stuff like this. But yeah, you know, you can certainly get West Coast IPAs that are this colour. So nothing else we really need to say about the appearance of this one. Let's have a wee look at the aroma and see what we get from this beer. Aroma-wise, this is, yeah, pretty damn good actually. At 7.2%, this one, you know, it's going to have a little bit of a bite to it, which is great. I really like that. So yeah, on the malty side of things then, you've got a little bit of fresh bread crust in the base. That fresh kind of hedgehog bready sort of thing. Lovely kind of sort of fluffy fresh white bread as well. You can kind of smell the malts in here. So I'm pretty sure this will be Austrian or German malt that's in this. It smells really, really nice. Fresh white bread for sure. A little bit of a crackery note to it. On the sweeter side of things, it does have a wee bit of caramel, a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digested biscuity note to it. But yeah, you can tell straight away with the aroma of this one. This is all West Coast, it's not New England, and I can get the impression from the green component too, it's going to have a good little bit of bitterness, which is what you want from this style. So yeah, let's look at that green component then. Yeah, on the green component, back of the nose you get a little touch of earthiness, but in front of that, lots of big, oily, bold, floral characters to this one. There's a wee bit of that piney resin, kind of that dankness to it as well, and you've also got some nice oily grassy character. So remember, West Coast IPAs have a lot of early edition hopping, so that's hopping within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you a lot of bitterness, but they also use late edition hopping within the last half hour. A little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and they also use dry hopping as well after the wort boil, which is completely flavour and aroma. New England IPAs tend to rely on the latter two. The West Coasters were always more bitter because of that use of the early edition hops. So yeah, with this one you can smell that it's got a good little bit of early edition hopping in it. It goes together really, really nicely for sure. Yeah, very nice on that side of things. So yeah, good little bit of zesty grassiness to this one. Yeah, the fruity character for me is quite distinct. It's quite familiar as well. So I think this one is using hops that I've come across quite a few times. So for me, I think this one has a little bit, it certainly has a wee bit of passion fruit and a bit of mango, so maybe something like Citra Simcoe. But I'm also getting quite a little bit of, getting a little bit of orange, so maybe a wee bit of mosaic, something like that. Maybe it doesn't seem quite zesty enough for Amarillo, but I'm pretty sure there is an orangey hop in this. But also there's quite a wee bit of lime too, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of cashmere or equinault or something like that in this too. So yeah, as I say, passion fruit, mango, a little bit of orange, and a nice bit of limey character to this beer too. But the fruits are lovely and oily, which is what you want from the West Coast IPA. Let's have a taste of this though and see how we get on. So this is the Bitter Kiss, 7.2% ABV, a West Coast IPA from Mlinarica here in Zagreb. Slanja, skål, cheers, živjeli. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, it gives you everything you would want from this style. It doesn't do anything surprising, but it's just a nice, well-made beer. So many breweries out there these days, you can't really ask for much more than that. I'm going to say, this one is proper old school. This does have a really nice bitter kick to it. Yeah, proper West Coast IPA. None of this new one where they take the bitterness down. So I like that about it. Let's look at the malty side of things then. Backbone of the beer, a little bit of fresh bread. Bread crust, absolutely. On top of that, oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, my food just came. I'll show you guys in just a second. So yeah, lovely bit of fresh white bread crust, absolutely. In the middle of the nose, definitely a wee bit of a sweet caramel. You can smell it's actually got a little bit of, it leans a little bit more toward that more kind of biscuity sort of thing. So yeah, it's really nice in that sense, but you can tell this is a slightly more boozy beer, absolutely. So yeah, that oily kind of boozy, biscuity sort of thing coming out of this one, but then yeah, fresh white bread, little bit of bread crust, maybe a wee touch of crackery character as well. Yeah, you can tell it's kind of Brewhouse brew because it has that really smooth, bready, crackery sort of thing to it. On the back third of the palate, you get a wee bit more zestiness coming out of it, but yeah, a little bit more kind of, I should say, breadiness. It's not zestiness, brain isn't working. So, yeah, lovely beer this. So let's look at the hoppy side of things. So yeah, back corners of the palate, absolutely a little bit of earthiness to this one. As you move further forward, it's got a nice little bit of kind of big piney resin. I wouldn't be surprised if this has got Columbus in it as the bittering hop, because it really is quite spicy. So yeah, I would not be surprised with this if it was Columbus. Maybe a little bit of Chinook in this one too, but Columbus really is the one that springs to mind because of the spiciness it has. Around the front curve of the palate though, it's a little bit lighter and more kind of oily in a sense. So yeah, the grassiness on this is nice. Fruity part of the beer. So yeah, fruity part of the beer, it's kind of like I said, at the back of the front third of your palate you get that stronger passion fruit, maybe a little touch of grapefruit, so potentially a bit of Chinook in this. As you come further forward it's a little bit more mango-like. You do get some little bits of kind of the drier apricot, papaya type thing. As I say, I think a bit of citra in this, it seems like citra, but then as you move into the front half of the beer, you get a little bit of an orangey, kind of zesty character out of it as well. And you also get that good bit of kind of big limey character too. So I think a bit of Equinox in this and a bit of Citra, and I think maybe Columbus in the bittering hop. It's always nice to play guess the hops with these beers, and you know, when you get a slightly more old school IPA like this one, I think it works really nicely. So yeah, let's round off with the mouthfeel of this one then. So mouthfeel wise, this beer, mid-bodied, smooth carbonation. It feels nice and clean, but also very, very smooth. The malty base is again quite smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness to it as well, and you've also, pardon me, took a bit of that down the wrong way there. But you've got that nice oily, fruity character to it as well. That's a really solid old school West Coast IPA. It definitely has, you know, the sort of 80, 90 IBU to it. This one, you can really taste that nice big. Spicy Columbus character to it. But yeah, that's very nice. The Bitter Kiss West Coast IPA, 7.2% ABV. That's the end of tasting number 3. Let's have a little look at this food and see what we have.
Alright guys, so this is what we're going to have a little taste of here at Mlinarica. So yeah, this is called Zagorski Tasting. So it's just been explained to me. It's dough filled with salted cheese, and then it's cooked in the pan with breadcrumbs. So this should be quite nice. It is actually a dessert. It's not a kind of main meal, this one, but I asked them for something that was typical Zagreb, typical Croatia, and this is what they suggested for me. And they were pretty awesome actually cooking this for me, because apparently they said that they don't normally make this apart from on Saturdays, so that was really nice of them to do this. Let's have a taste.
Alright guys, well, let's have a little look then at the Zagorski Tasting. Very curious about this, I'll have to say. So we'll take a wee bit off the corner and see what we have here. That's maybe not quite enough. There's not so much cheese on that little corner bit, so we'll take a bit further in. So yeah, just let you have a little look at this. You can see, this is what it looks like inside. You can see that nice layer of salty cheese just here, but yeah, dough, breadcrumbs should be quite nice. Just drop the cheese out of there, we'll get that in a second, but let's have a taste. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Really savoury actually. It's almost like, you know, if you have like a wet pastry, it's kind of like that. It's like a sort of really wet pastry, the breadcrumbs around it, and the cheese is very nice too. It's kind of like a cream cheese, but not quite as strong in flavour and just a little bit more salty. Yeah, I think the stuff on top is butter. Let me just check. So yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's a slightly stronger cheese on top. So we'll take another bite of it with the stronger cheese in there. Right, let's do this. So there you go. That's everything. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I like this. It's, you know, I don't know, just, it's not something that I would normally eat, if that makes sense, but I certainly like it. To me, this would be like a sort of, you know, lunch, snack type thing, but yeah, they've got it down here as a dessert, so that's quite interesting, like a warm dessert. But yeah, to me, this is something, for me, this kind of food, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of pastry type thing. This is more like a kind of lunchy sort of meal for me, but very nice. So yeah, that's a little taste of Zagorski Strictly, which was what they recommended when I asked them for something typically Zagrebian, can we say that? Typical Zagreb food, typical Croatian food. So yeah, a very good recommendation. Like I say, they cooked this specially for me, which they wouldn't normally do on this day, so that was really cool as well. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this, and then you'll get some more beer tastings in a little bit. Catch you soon. Alright guys, well, we've just finished our food and that was very nice, I have to say. So let's have a little look at our fourth beer then. So yeah, this one is simply called Sour IPA. I'm not sure what ABV this one is, but yeah, this is quite interesting. This is the first sour IPA I've come across, definitely in Croatia. I'm not 100% sure about Slovenia actually, so this could well be the first Balkan sour IPA that I've tried, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, you can see when this beer poured, it came out with about a finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one. That's faded away to be a nice kind of thin, sort of light foamy layer. You can see lovely sort of pale golden straw colour. It's kind of along the lines of a Helles, like a German Helles, a Brewhouse Helles, in terms of its appearance, or you could say as well like a Czech Svetli, something like that. But yeah, not too much in the way of visible carbonation. One or two big bubbles sitting there, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. But overall, it looks very nice. Yeah, you know, you can get sour IPAs that are lots of different colours. Again, this one is leaning toward that kind of light straw. Light golden straw end of the spectrum. So yeah, I like how this one goes about its business for sure. Yeah, aroma wise, this is quite interesting actually. So the backbone of this one, for me, it smells oddly familiar, and I can't think exactly why, but it has this kind of, you know, it's definitely like a sort of, you know, Jacob's cream cracker, like it's got this crackery base to it. And then on top of that, you do get little hints of like a kind of biscuity sweetness, but it's almost just got a little bit of a spicy note to it as well. So yeah, you've got that crackery note, a little bit of white bread, also a wee bit of that kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive biscuity sweetness coming out of it. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together in terms of its sort of malty backbone. This is a really nice smelling beer, that's for sure. Yeah, the malty side of things is quite interesting. Almost a little bit like coriander or clovey, something like that. Yeah, but definitely a bit of a dry, sort of spicy note to this one for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think why this malt base is so familiar. It's probably the yeast or some of the malts that are in this one that I've had in other beers. But yeah, like I say, really cool to find a sour IPA, actually. Yeah, so on the hoppy side of things, it's definitely kind of similar. It's got a little bit of that almost German, Austrian, Slovenian kind of noble character to it. There's a wee bit of earthiness in there. You've got a slightly brighter floral aromatic note to it though, and also some nice zesty grassiness, which is good and kind of in keeping with the sort of the kind of spiciness of the beer. So I do like that, but the grassy zestiness in this one is quite nice for sure. When it comes to the sour side of it, it's got like a sort of spicy, lemony vibe to it, which I think is very, very cool. So yeah, the aroma on this I think is very, very, very nice. This one, it's quite an old school sour beer. This one, I've not had a sour IPA in quite some time. You know, Vault City back home in Scotland, they were doing a lot of these, of course. There's a few breweries in Sweden doing sour IPAs, but mainly it's the kind of smoothie sours you're getting in Scandinavia these days. But yeah, fruity wise, it's quite lemony, it's quite limey, but you do have a wee bit of that apricot-y, mango-y type note to this one. So yeah, the way that this beer goes about its business is quite interesting. I'm very, very curious to see what this one is going to turn out like. So yeah, this is the sour IPA. As I said, I'm not sure exactly what percentage this one's going to be. I would guess about 6, something like that. But let's have a taste of this and see how we go. Slange it, skull, cheers, Jubelli. Yeah. This, you know that this actually reminds me of? It reminds me of the pale ale that I had from Epocho. That's where this is from. Epocho Brewery in Glasgow. This beer really reminds me of that. It has this big, you know, the thing that it's reminding me of is the kind of woody, funky sort of thing. It really is like that. If I think back to the Epocho beers that I had a few months back from Glasgow, this one's really similar to that, but a little bit more citrusy and a little, you know, there's obviously a bit of American hop and stuff in here. But yeah, this one really reminds me of the Epocho Brewing's pale ales and stuff. But this is nice. I like it. I like beers like this. This is it's not what I expected from a sour IPA. But it's good. I like it. You know, finding unusual beers when we're out doing these out and about videos is always fun. Let's break this down for you properly though. So, backbone of this beer, you've got that lovely smooth kind of oaky woody note to this one. Yeah, it's a little bit drier the further back on the palate you go. You have got some nice kind of crackery notes to it as well, like a Jacob's cream cracker. I use that descriptor quite a lot when it comes to the Balkan beers. They always have this. It must just be the German malts or the Slovenian, Austrian malts, whatever they're using here. I really don't know how much malt they make in Croatia itself. But yeah, this is nice. It is nice for sure. So, on top of that kind of crackery, woody sort of thing, you've got a nice little bit of white bread for sure. On top of that, there's a wee bit of a kind of you do get a bit of McVitie's digestive sort of character for sure. You're getting a little bit of that kind of nice biscuity note, a wee bit of kind of sweetness as well. Yeah, this goes together really, really nicely. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, it really actually, there's toward the back and that back third of the palate, there's a bit of that kind of spicy, almost like it's a very slight like pepperiness or something like that. There's a good bit of that going on, but it's all funk, you know, it's this woody, farmhousey, funky type thing. It's a really interesting beer. I didn't expect to find something like this when I came up here, but you know, finding beers like this, as I say, is always nice. Yeah, I like this. Very woody, very funky sort of beer, this one. On the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, there's a wee bit of earthiness. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more kind of herbal. It's a wee bit more, yeah, a wee bit herbal, as we say. A little bit spicy and floral in the front corners of the palate and round the front curve of the tongue. It's a little bit more lighter and grassy, and it does have a wee bit of zestiness to the grassy side of things, which suits the fact that it's a sour IPA. On the fruity part of the beer, on the sour side of things then, front third of the palate. Yeah, this one actually does have a good little bit of sour, sharp, tart impact to it, which I like. Yeah, so a nice little bit of sharp tartness in there. But it mellows out really nicely. As I always say, the measure of a good sour beer is how it mellows out. So this one comes in really light, sort of lemony and tart, but then it mellows out a wee bit and you start to get some drier apricot, some kind of sultana type notes to this one as well. But yeah, that kind of big zesty lemony note to this one really lingers there. A really interesting beer, this one. I like it. I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again, but for me, as I always say, sour beers are little tasters. I like drinking beer like this, you know, trying little tasters and trying lots of different things. That's what it's about for me. I'm like a sort of foodie beer drinker, if that makes sense. Mouthfeel wise, yeah, this one For me, it's still quite light-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth, but it gives you a degree of crispness as well, which suits the overall vibe of the beer. Malty base is really smooth. It doesn't really have too much in the way of a sweet component in this one. It is more kind of funky and slightly dry. IBUs, I think this is like 20 or something like that. It's low in its IBUs. You've got a nice little bit of tartness to the beer, and you've also just got that little bit of juiciness too. So really nice. On the mouthfeel side of things, it's quite light-bodied. Carbonation is crisp, as we said. Yeah, really nice. Beer, this one goes together very well. So yeah, that's the sour IPA, and that's the end of tasting number 4 then here at Mlinarica. So yeah, catch you guys for the next one.
Alright guys, yeah, so let's have a little look at the fridge then. So yeah, Mlinarica Beerage. So yeah, you've got the Vienna Lager, the Imperial Stout, which has a little bit of Brett in it from the barrel apparently, the Quart Quadruple, the Duality, and the Double Duality is aged in like a wine barrel, uses a wine yeast and things like this apparently. They have the Hoppy Lager, the American Pale Ale, the Studentsko, which is a tropical stout. They have Jam and Granny as well, a fruited pastry stout, some more American Pale Ale, the Sour Eyes, the Vosan, then you've got the Pussabok down there, big bottles of Duality, and then they have their Savage series, which is different kinds of saisons aged in different barrels and with different adjuncts and things. So yeah, this is really cool actually. Lots of nice different beers here, and you can see the price list as well. Yeah, 13 koons, like €2 roughly. Remember, divide by 7.5 for euros, 7 for dollars, and 8 for sterling. So yeah, good prices actually, really nice.
Alright guys, well, time for our 5th and final tasting then from our beer flight. So we're going to go to a kind of regular sour beer, if we can call it that, with this one. So this one is called Sourizer. It comes in, I think, roughly about 5.5% ABV, this one, if I remember correctly. But yeah, looks quite nice. So when this beer poured, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of cream coloured head. You can see that it's got a very nice little kind of almost peach tint to it actually, but yeah, nice and hazy. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of that head there, but yeah, overall it looks pretty nice. I'm not sure exactly what to expect from this one, so we'll have a look at the aroma and see what we get. But yeah, let's look at it. Yeah, this one, yeah, quite bready, quite juicy and fruity. Yeah, this smells quite nice. I think I'm not sure exactly what fruit this one has inside it, but it does smell just quite nice. So, nice little bit of a kind of bread crusty sort of note to this beer. Lovely smooth white bready notes. I think definitely a little bit of wheat in this beer. You can smell a little bit of that wheaty bitiness toward the back of the nose. There's also a wee bit of a kind of oaty sort of thing coming out of this one. And I'm also getting little bits of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity type character to it as well. A little bit of butter candy, butterscotch. So yeah, kind of interesting. Bread crust, white bread, a little bit of wheaty bitiness, some oaty smoothness, a little bit of biscuit, a little bit of kind of butterscotch, butter candy type thing. So yeah, I really like how the aroma of this beer goes together. Very nice. So, hoppy side of things. Little touch of earthiness in there, some nice bright floral aromaticity. Yeah, a good little bit of grassiness as well. So, yeah, you can smell this one does have a little bit of hoppy character to it, which is nice. I always think this adds a little bit of depth to the sour beers. On the fruity side of things, you can certainly get a little bit of that lemony, limey, kind of tart, citricy note coming out of this one. There is a little bit of a kind of juicy sort of tropical fruit note to this one as well. I'm really not sure what fruit has been added into this actually, but yeah, it smells. It does smell very nice actually. Just a little bit of a kind of an almost like peachy sharpness, a little bit of mango, you know, a little bit of an apricot-y note, but then definitely that kind of tart, citricy note for sure. So as I always say, take a wee bit of time and ponder over the aroma of these beers before you get stuck into them. Let's taste this one. So yeah, this is the Sour Eyes. I think about 5.5% ABV, some kind of sour beer here at Mlinarica. So yeah, slange, skål, cheers, zivjeli. Yeah, this is really, really nice. It's very, very sharp. It's actually really quite sharp in the beginning. As I've told you before, for me, the mark of a good sour beer is one that, you know, it can come in sharp, but then it just mellows out and softens up. And this beer really does that, actually. I think it works out very, very well. So yeah, this is really quite nice and juicy, but definitely a kind of sharper sour beer, this one. I'm not sure exactly where it can go with that, but this is a kettle sour, if I remember rightly. I'm sure it is it's a sour made using the kettle method, but it's nice for sure. So let's break the flavour down for you. So a little bit of a kind of bread crusty backbone there. Smooth kind of white bready characters for sure. At the back of the palate you get a little bit of a more kind of wheaty, bitey sort of note out of the beer. But yeah, soft white bread, a little bit of bread crust. Wee bit of an oaty creaminess as well. Yeah, a little bit of McVitie's digestive biscuity character for sure. I don't get so much in the way of that Werther's original butter candy sort of thing out of this one. It really is more bready and wheaty rather than anything else, but I really like how this beer, I really like how it goes together for sure. Malty side of things, everything you'd want. On the hoppy side of the beer, back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it becomes there's a little bit of herbal note there and a wee bit of floral aromaticity, but round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy for sure. So, yeah, the hoppy side of things in this one does show up, but you know, it's quite wet actually. The hoppy side of this beer is a little bit more wet rather than anything else. Let's focus on the sour side of the beer and the fruity notes as well. So yeah, when you take this beer in, it certainly has a bit of that kind of lemony, tart, citricy type vibe to it. But yeah, it works. It really does work quite nicely, actually. So it gets a thumbs up from me. So yeah, lemony, tart, citric note in the beginning. As you move further into the aftertaste, you get a bit of peachy sharpness. I think you get some, you know, mangoey, apricot-y kind of dry notes out of this. But yeah, the fruity flavour for me really leans towards a more lemony, zesty note, and it does juicing up, but it is actually a little touch pucker in this one. It really has a good little bit of sharpness to it, which is quite interesting. But let's round off this tasting then with a look at the mouthfeel. So, mouthfeel wise, this beer, for me, bottom end and mid-bodied, carbonation is quite smooth. It's got a little bit of oiliness to it. Like we say, you've got quite a sharp tart note to it too. But yeah, malty base is very, very smooth. There's a little tiny bit of sweetness to it. IBUs, I think it's, you know, 15, 20, something like that. And a little bit of juicy fruity character, a little bit sharp. But then yeah, nice little bit of, as we say, kind of sour sharpness to this one. But yeah, interesting beer, to say the least this. So I think that's quite an interesting one to finish off this little tasting flight with. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for the moment, and we've got some more things to have a little look at in this video, which I hope you enjoy. Catch you in a second.
Alright guys, well I was very kindly invited to have a little look at the Brewhouse, which is just round the back here. So yeah, this was pretty awesome. I spent quite a wee bit of time chatting to the guys. So yeah, big ups to Dimitar and Osrun. We had a really nice conversation just about lots of different random beers, and you'll see Dimitar on the video just a little bit actually. So yeah, you come round here and you can see they've got a bunch of bottles sitting, waiting to be filled up. But yeah, when you come in, there's Osran working away, trying not to get in his way. They're brewing a Vienna lager today, which smells very nice. So their brew kit is 1,000 litres? 1,000 litres, the brew kit?
The brew kit is 500.
500, ah okay. So yeah, you've got a 500 litre brew kit there, and they've got a bunch of 1,200 litre tanks. But yeah, Osran was saying that they only fill it to 1,000, so they've got room for the dry hopping and all the other kind of adjuncts and things that they want to put in their beer. So yeah, they've got their bottling line here. Dimitar's chilling, like I say, he's going to be in the video a little bit later. And then yeah, through here they've also got some of their kegs and their tanks and stuff like this as well. So yeah, as you can see, really kind of small setup here, which is nice. But this is what I like doing on the channel. I love doing visiting like little brew pubs like this where you're not going to find the beer anywhere else. But yeah, big ups to Ozran for his tour. He did very well with that. Ozran is, at the moment we're here in June 2022, and Ozran is working like as a student brewer at the moment. So yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but let's go and try some other beers in a second. So yeah, that's your little tour of the kind of brew kit here at Mlinarica. Alright guys, well it turns out that in this video at Mlinarica we're also going to get a kind of meet the brewer sort of thing. So this is Dimitar. Hello. And Dimitar is the head brewer here, and he's given me a very nice tour of the brewery with Ozran as well. So you'll probably see that in the video just a little bit before this if I'm remembering the order, but yeah, it's okay. We'll sort all it out. We'll sort that out later. But yeah, Dimitar, could you tell us a little bit about how you started brewing, how you got into craft beer, this kind of thing?
Yeah, as many colleagues, I guess, or all of them, will start homebrewing. It's been about 10 years since I started with that. Back in Macedonia, where we didn't really have much of a beer selection on the market, I decided if I want something different, I'm going to have to make it on my own. It was difficult at the beginning because we didn't even have a homebrew shop to get the materials. So that included some going over the border and smuggling the ingredients from a brewery in Kosovo. But yeah, it got easier later on with better availability of materials. Eventually moving to Estonia and Finland, where they already had a better homebrewing industry as such. And it's where I also got my first job in a brewery. I was in Estonia in Tankar Brewery 5 years ago.
Oh, they do some good stuff.
Yeah, that's where I had my first experience in a brewery. Going from the 20 liter batches to the 2,000 liter batches, and I worked there for years. So I'm here for 4 years now. In 3 days, it's my 4-year anniversary.
Nice. Okay. Are you brewing a special beer for the?
Well, I make a lot of special beers around, and I don't need not that mystical to make one for myself. But yeah, I guess we're gonna make some for the Mlinarica birthday and such.
Okay, awesome. So we were chatting a little bit in the brewery about favourite styles and so on. So maybe what is your favourite style to brew, and what's your favourite style to drink?
Well, to brew, probably the Vienna lager because it's the easiest. I can brew it with half of my mind, but actually, I do prefer brewing the stuff that I prefer drinking. And lately, say in the last year and a half, 2 years, it's the sours, especially the ones that take longer time to age, like barrel sours, not special sours. But I've been most inspired for different beers by Belgian beers. So yeah, also the heavy stuff and the Belgian stuff. I really love the complex aromatics in the Belgian beers. There's not a single brewer in the world that doesn't like coffee beers as well, so of course there's going to be some lovely IPA and all, but let's stick to the sours as the favorite ones.
Okay, nice. So maybe let's try this one. A favourite sort of classic beer, maybe you don't have to say just one, maybe a couple then. I've seen that look like, which one? Yeah, I know this, like, people ask me the same thing, so maybe some of your favourite classic traditional beers, some of your favourite modern craft beers, maybe your favourite Croatian craft brewery as well.
Favorite Croatian? There's a few I can recommend to anyone coming to Croatia, starting with Mlinarica, but also Pufler, Majska, Ronda are among the top recommendations that I give and people in general will give, I guess. Favorite beers as such, that's a very difficult choice. It really depends on the mood. As classic styles go, yes, any traditional classic Belgian lambic or goose is that I always enjoy it. So I would never think twice about having one. But modern ones, what I could say is how do you consider the West Coast IPA? Relatively modern or traditional?
I would say to me that's more modern, like traditional, like Belgian, German, Czech kind of thing.
Well, yeah, as far as the traditional one goes, the Belgian sours. As far as the more modern ones, I would say West Coast IPA.
Okay, awesome, nice. And you said a minute ago you're Macedonian, I didn't realise.
I didn't mention.
Yeah, can you tell us, because this is the first Macedonian bit that will be on the channel ever, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about what the beer scene is like in Macedonia?
It's developing quite slowly. The economy is quite low there. Plus, people are used to cheap wine. So the government does give good benefits to the winemakers, but the laws are not that well adjusted for brewers. Still, people that are used to have supermarkets, really good quality cheap wine are really skeptical of paying the same price for half the amount of a good quality craft beer, because they're also used to the industrial lagers and such, and that's where they see beer. They're not even aware of what a craft beer can be and the diversity of it. There's a few breweries starting. Can I mention them?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So a few brewers that are trying to break their way are SK01 and Pivovara and Bellezza Brewing. So those guys are trying, and they're doing a good job considering the climate they have there. But it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go for sure.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Because Macedonia's been on my list to visit for a little while. We can fly very cheap from Malmo to Skopje, so that's something.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah, no. So yeah, guys, there's a little bit about I didn't expect that we talk about the Macedonian beer scene, so that's really cool. So we now have. This will probably be the final beer tasting for the video, because this Dimitar picked out a beer for us to have a look at, and it's a bit of a monster. So do you want to introduce your monster baby?
Basically, this baby is not on the market yet. Have it out tonight.
Oh yeah.
We have the quadruple. That's already a monster on its own with 13.7% alcohol. But this one is aged in share barrels for about 9 months. Picked up some more booze from the barrel, so it got 14.5. Initially, when we put it in the barrel, we were weirded out by the barrel itself. Is really dark. It's heavily toasted, so it has a lot of smoky notes, which in the beginning felt like cigarette smoke, but by now we're getting something in between maybe a traditional German smoky beer with the qualities of a Belgian quadruple. So I'm happy with the complexity of smoke and sweetness there. You're about to see for yourself. Maybe I'm bullshitting, maybe I'm not.
Okay, cool. No, well, yeah, this was really cool. Like, this will be the very first Croatian Belgian style beer that I've ever reviewed. So this is pretty cool.
Our first in this video.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of Macedonia, a little bit of Belgian style beer brewed in Croatia. That's awesome. Yeah. So the way I usually do the taste is like, appearance, aroma, flavor, and like proper geeky style. So
Let's start with cheers.
Slanja Skol Zibeli. How do you say in Macedonian?
Nazdravje.
Okay, right, Nazdravje. That's familiar. That is familiar. Colour-wise, we've got a lovely kind of, I would say like a chestnutty kind of note. Chestnut, at 14.5%, it's not going to hold its head very long, but we can see it's got this nice kind of fawn.
It's soft carbonization. I guess the Belgians do prefer stronger, but for a heavyweight like this, I think it's about 2.1, 2.2 units of CO2 per liter. So yeah, on the softer side of the carbonation, not as soft as stout, but not as a regular Belgian quadruple as such.
Okay. So nose-wise, aroma. I'm going to say straight away, that's really, really nice. Aroma-wise, that's lovely. So for me, like a nice little sort of oaky, woody thing in the backbone. Smooth, like lovely brown bread. Lots of kind of big, like chewy, caramelly, brown sugary notes.
There's a lot of toffee notes, even a bit of syrupy there, I would say.
Oh yeah. How long a wort boil do you do with this one?
It was just a 1 hour boil, but the quadruple we made our own cane sugar, 30 kilos of it. That was a fun experiment, and it was not that fun to pour it in because we had huge bligs of it. But yeah, it turned out a good experiment, and we went on the darker side of the cane sugar, so there's maybe even some hints of over caramelized or burnt sugar in it. But I guess with the barrels it got softer. I'd say the base version of the quadruple has a bit more of it. Here it kind of blends in with the rest of the smoky and the oaky barrel parts.
Yeah. I mean, the brown. I'm going to say straight away, guys. The brown sugary notes on this are lovely. It's very much like a kind of sort of fruit loaf type thing. Yeah, lots. For me, the fruity side of this beer is lots of like, a little bit of prune, a little bit of dates, sultana.
Yeah,
a bit of an oily perry kind of character, but then nice black currant notes too.
Beautiful smelling beer though. I'm just going to say, I'm going to enjoy this. I can tell from the aroma right away. But yeah, taste it.
That's right.
Slange it. That's Rabia. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's pretty fucking good.
I think that the smoke comes more noticeable or naturally when you breathe out. You bring it around the mouth, take the sip, swallow it, then when you breathe out you can taste the tingling of the smokiness on the nose there.
Oh yeah, because I mean this is something in the aroma. I'll say this: I didn't get any smokiness in the aroma, but in the flavour that comes out, you get a little bit of that slightly charry, woody kind of thing at the back of the palate. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, lovely again, smooth kind of woody backbone, that charry wood in the back and the middle third of your palate. You know, brown bread, like a sweet German rye bread kind of thing. Maybe?
Yeah, it doesn't have any rind in green bill. I went with the specialty Belgian malts and all, but picked up a lot of complexity from the yeast contributed for sure, the barrel contributed, the complex grain bill contributed. So turned out a mix of a bit of everything that contributed in a good way. So I'm yet to see how the market is going to react when we get this out in the winter.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say straight away, this is a lovely beer. It's just really smooth and silky. It has everything you want. For me, in middle third of the palate, you get that big oily caramel in the middle, and it's a bit more biscuity-ish.
And that's why we do the more carbonation, because I thought this beer would need a more velvety texture there. So overly bubbly would probably ruin the bite, or would have been harsh on something else. So the smoother carbonization just lets it distribute in your mouth more gently there, and you get all the layers there.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is very, very nice. I think this is one of these beers that gets drier the further into the aftertaste you go. You get more of the wood, all this kind of thing. But you've also got this lovely cakey, that maybe cake isn't the right word, like fruit roll. And you know, on the front part of your palate, you've got that cakey fruit roll sort of thing, like you know, dates, sultanas, and then like right on the tip of the tongue, you start to get the more ready notes, like a little bit of blackcurrant and a wee bit of fig almost, like a wee bit of kind of dry, figgy, pruny note out of this one.
The dried fruits and such, and there is some refreshing note in the back with the dryness. There it gets away from the sweetness there, I guess, and the kind of heavy aftertaste. It doesn't hit me too heavy yet. I mean, you can already feel the warmth of the alcohol there, but it's not knocking me down. That's what I'm happy about.
Oh yeah, I mean, in terms of quadruples, I think I was telling you this earlier, I love the big brown sugary things, the Scotch ales, the quadruples, the doppelbocks. That's very nice. It's really nicely done, this one. And it's like the sort of sherry barrel aging part of this beer. You've got the bready backbone, and the sherry's kind of like, for me, the sherry's infused into the kind of bready notes you get out of this one.
Yeah, drank up sherry from the barrel. It was quite a lot. There was a tiny bit of wine actually still left in the barrel, which I was skeptic to try the wine itself. So I can tell that the beer definitely picked up some of those qualities, from the oakiness to the smokiness to the roastiness from the wood itself. But turned out quite nice.
Oh yeah, it's a lovely quadruple, this. And one thing I'll say too, we'll go to mouthfeel now to round it off. This one for me, it's very light and very clean. Well, not very light, but it's got this. I think this is the thing when you barrel age. I always find that if you barrel age something, it feels a bit lighter than the original.
That's why don't forget, dries it a bit more, and then some of the tannins from the barrel can lend some of the mouthfeel on the cheeks. You know, otherwise would be empty. But it's light enough to drink it, but it's not watery in any way or just too empty. You know, and I'm happy with the balance there. But definitely it's lighter to drink actually than the base one. Because the base one is a bit heavier on sweetness.
Right.
So this one got the balance with the oaky roasty notes there.
Yeah, so that really kind of infused character to it. So yeah, for me, it's really light, clean, quite silky, like you said. Carbonation, you get a little bit out of it, but we were saying earlier you used a very low carbonation.
That was yeah.
Yeah, I think we never mentioned the hoppy part of the beer. For me, there's
very small, like smooth earthiness and mainly grassy. It's maybe got a little bit of grass, I think, on the kind of front curve of the tongue for me. A little bit.
It had enough of bittering hops. Magnum is what I keep as a basic one. Don't remember the amount. I brewed this more than a year ago. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, we never said how long was it in the barrel for?
About 9 months.
9 months. Okay. So yeah, no, the thing is, most of your hoppy character will drop out in that
Yeah,
time.
it's been too long for the hops to do its part, except for some bitterness in the back.
Oh yeah, exactly. But yeah, like we said, the fruity note for me is nice and oily, nice and silky. It's really dry fruity this, but sherry quadruple, it works. Yeah, I love these big brown sugary beers that are like that, but I think you've got a solid one here. I think this is
I'm happy about it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is maybe this is the interesting thing, we were talking about this too, that in Croatia is still kind of learning, if you like, about craft beer. So this will be the interesting thing, is like, how will this beer go down in Croatia? Because it would do well in the countries where craft beer is more popular, there's no doubt about that.
We're actually trying to export some of our specials because they're more appreciated than some other markets. But we're also, we're initially brewing these beers for our market, even though they're not that popular, but Stomach has to make it that popular, right? So we need to build the market. It's not just, what's the demand, let's give them that. No, we're going to create it.
Oh yeah.
So unless someone starts with the barrel aging and the barrel itself or whatever, they will never, we're not going to rely on imported beers only for that stuff. So something to start.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully this will attract enough attention on the market and increase the demand for it, because then it means they can do more of them.
Oh, exactly, yeah. But this is the thing, I've explained in the video before that, countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, small population, so the breweries export a lot of their products. Croatia's 4 million people, something like this. So Croatia's going to kind of be the same sort of thing. Breweries are going to export a lot, like a third to 2/3 of what they're producing. So yeah, you'll probably see, hopefully once Croatia joins the Schengen area, it's a bit easier for some of the Croatian beers to make it outside. So yeah, hopefully that happens in the next year or two. We need to see what happens.
Yeah, we're working on the paperwork and stuff, but it should become easier and easier, I guess. And hopefully we're gonna export more, create more, open a bigger brewery and satisfy the demand.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no, so guys, this was really cool. We've been very lucky in Croatia and Slovenia with meeting the brewers in these videos, and it's always nice when you get to do this. It's a wee bit different and it adds something else to the video. So yeah, Dimitar, thanks for picking out this to try. This is going to end the day in the best way. But yeah, no, thanks for explaining a bit about the brewery, showing me around, and telling us a little bit about Macedonia as well. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, I hope you can actually go there and interview the brewers there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, make some more videos too. They will definitely benefit from getting more media attention.
Oh yeah. There's quite a few Macedonians in Sweden these days as well. So yeah. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, guys, this was a really nice interview. So Dimitar, thank you again for doing it, and yeah, we'll round off there. Slange guys, Nastrovia, Juvieli, whatever we're going to say. Catch you guys in a second with my final thoughts here on Mlinarica. Cheers. So yeah, guys, this is another quite random thing about this brewery. You get this big sort of scarecrow dude with one leg sitting outside. I think the leg that's missing must have broken off or something, but I like this. Alright guys, well that is my time up here then at Pivovara Mlinarica in the north of Zagreb. So I had a really nice time here. In total, the beer and the food that I had, that came to 61 kuna, so that's like €8, something like that. But yeah, it was really good. Nice to come and try a little sort of brew pub like this. You got to have a little look around the brewery. So big shout out to Ozrun and Dimitar for showing me around, chatting to me. Very, very nice guys. So yeah, this was really nice. They're trying to do some really kind of innovative sour beers and introduce new things into the Croatian beer market. So this place is really worth checking out. I really enjoyed it. You can get the tram is just across the road from this basically. So yeah, you get the number 8 up here if I remember correctly. directly. So yeah, quite easy to access, or you can just walk the kind of 2.5 k's from the town, which isn't so bad. That's what I did because I fancied the walk. But yeah, come and check out Pivovara Mlinarica here in the north of Zagreb. Catch you guys on the next one. In the meantime, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in another out and about video very, very soon. Slàinte just now.